Commission also notes that there is no evidence available to support the fact that police were aware that Rex Jr. was suffering from life-threatening injuries. They had just seen his jeans used to tie up a bleeding artery. Sergeant Little received his information about Rex's condition from Mr. Bellotti, so it's now the police being notified by the family. They were initially advised that Rex Jr. suffered 2 broken legs and later confirmed that one had a bad break and was not healing as it should, and that it may at some time require amputation. While the amputation of a leg is clearly very serious and life-changing, there is no evidence to support that Sergeant Little knew or should have known that Rex Jr.'s injuries were life-threatening. Yes, he may have his leg amputated, but it's not life-changing.
But at the time, though, at the actual time of the crash, it is beyond a miracle that he didn't die. That's the thing. So they are life-threatening.
Well, that from what he had, he could easily have died. And that's from
no
people
way.
in the hospital. Now, police advise that based on the circumstances surrounding this traffic crash, the seizure of the vehicle, this being the police 4-wheel drive, was not warranted or deemed appropriate. Generally, impounding only occurs where the driver cites mechanical failure or a criminal offence has been committed or a fatal crash has occurred. Now, the first point is, we're still talking about 4 police vehicles who officers are claiming weren't fitted with CCTV or GPS, in breach of what should have been the case as standard. This is a crash which has left a young man bleeding in the street and very close to death, and as Charles mentioned, it's a miracle he's not. A criminal offence has not been committed.
They wouldn't have known it.
According to the police involved. And a fatal crash has not occurred. They didn't go to the hospital. Now, the point that he didn't die is not the point. He very well could have. And for these 3 reasons, we would say that the first thing you would do would be impound the car. But none of these things were done.
But you would also impound the car pending the investigation, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, that's normal procedure.
Isn't that
that's
normal?
the point. No procedures have been followed.
That's right.
Every procedure, every protocol, police protocol has been broken.
My wife and I have gone in there. We've got no support from anybody in Albany, and anybody, any services whatsoever. So we've also had to string our 5 others in there, like Mother Duck's a reference I use, and they've had to go in there, and we couldn't hide our children from to seeing their oldest brother, excuse me, to put them out of sight, out of mind, so they didn't have to deal with extra trauma. Excuse me. And in that regard, they had to walk past the treatment room in the emergency department and see the blood, when I actually walked past and I tried to shepherd it from them, when I looked at my boy, all I could see was these arteries squirting blood out. Now, I just had a cold shiver. I'll never forget the feeling of seeing my boy like that. The little one saw all that. And we couldn't shepherd them as much as we tried from actually seeing the reality of what was going on in there. So it's been a really hard process seeing all that. Just that top right picture there, the only part of that leg that was holding it together was his top where the kneecap is. That we actually had a doctor come to us. He called us, my wife and I, out of sight and out of from the rest of the emergency department's doctors and nurses, and he called us just around the corner where we put our kids in the nurses' lunchroom, what are you going to call it? He actually said to my wife and I, you've got to get your boy to Perth. I don't know why they're stalling it here. He said, you've got to get him up there. You've only got a 6-hour window before his soft tissue and his muscles and his limb dies off. By the time they made that call, and I've got a copy of the report from the flying doctor, and when they were informed, which was 3 hours later, but they were running, I kid you not, they were running around that hospital, all these doctors and nurses, apparently looking for an orthopaedic kit to fix his leg up.
Oh. He should never have been sent there. He should have been taken
right. He should have been stabilised, put straight on the flying doctor and sent to Perth.
Has to be an inquiry.
It's worth mentioning as well that tonight we are focusing on the actions of the police. But this goes much further than that.
That's why there'll be more than one public meeting.
This is a long story of institutional neglect inflicted upon this child. When he came to Perth, he spent time in Royal Perth Hospital. He also went to Chenton Park Rehabilitation Hospital, at which point he was actually strip searched.
Strip searched?
Because medication went missing on his ward, and he was chosen for a random strip search, and A shared ward. And he was by himself at the time.
What?
So let's
even legal?
as I say, we're focusing on this tonight because but please respect that it is much broader than that. So this is the Triple C report again. It says the Commission appreciates that given the injuries suffered by, and this is again still in 2009. Like we're now in 2011. It's been more than 2.5 years. Well, it's probably been 2 years since this report was made, and this was the last word of it. The Commission appreciates that given the injuries suffered by Rex Jr., it would be hard to accept the lack of obtaining statements as merely an oversight.
Oh.
Quite a number of the statements that have been made weren't even signed. So those who have like a legal background, those statements are not applicable for a court case. They're not granted as evidence. Maureen Cameron allegedly was advised by her employer at the time, the Aboriginal Legal Service, that she could not state that the police moved the body. Now we're talking about from the far right to the centre of the road. She resigned 6 months later and attempted to amend or reissue a statement, but alleges that she was denied by the police. Michael Coyne, who you remember from saying the police vehicle was swerving, and I've seen what you've done, you bastards, or whatever it was. Michael Coyne alleges that police tried to bribe him to change his statement. He alleges that over the Easter weekend, 2009, he was visited over 40 times by the police. Now, Ashley Riley, is, well, she lives in Perth, and obviously through the trauma that she's been through, she felt she couldn't come here today. But she came down to Albany, and through talking with the family, she agreed to speak to a reporter from from the West Australian. And she basically talked about all the pressure that's been landed on her by the police. It's not simply the police which are blamed, it is a widespread institutional sort of neglect here, if not racism, because we have neither the Bellotti family nor anyone who witnessed the event, nor the police officers involved were ever offered counselling services by the state. Alright? So, the West Australian Police Health and Welfare Branch have been contacted and will be attending to members of the West Australian Police Force. You know, that's great for them. Sure, some of them might have seen something that disturbed them, but nothing's really come to the witnesses of the family.